Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tune into the story of how commercials evolved. From the very first sounds of selling on the radio all the way to the visual spectacles we see on TV. I mean, think about it. How did we get from a simple song about cereal saving a company from failure to a 10-second clock on a screen that changed advertising forever? It's really a story about the constant battle for our attention and how brands learn to get inside our heads, first through our ears and then through our eyes. So here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to start with how radio basically wrote the original playbook. Then we'll see how television entered the game. After that, we'll watch that old sponsorship model just completely fall apart. And finally, we'll witness the birth of the modern commercial as we know it.
Okay, let's dive right in. Before we could actually see ads, we had to hear them. And back in the 1920s and 30s, radio advertisers pretty much wrote the first rules of the game, discovering the unbelievable power of sound.
So the first paid radio ad ever, that was way back in 1922. It was just a simple pitch for real estate. But the real game changer, that came on Christmas Eve 1926. A barbershop quartet sang the simple little tune for a cereal brand that was really struggling. And in doing so, they didn't just save the product, they basically stumbled upon a revolutionary new way to advertise.
And wow, does this show you the power of the jingle? It was like marketing science put to music. Have you tried Wheaties? That little song got stuck in everyone's head. And General Mills says that simple tune is what revived the brand's really weak sales. All of a sudden, every single advertiser wanted their own song.
See, radio advertisers couldn't show you the product, so they had to become absolute masters at selling with just sound. They wove ads right into the shows, they used humor to keep people listening, and of course, they perfected the jingle. But their ultimate tool was what they called the theater of the mind, using sound effects to paint these vivid pictures right in your imagination. But that was all about to change, because a new technology was getting ready to add pictures to the sound.
And then television shows up. It was a powerful disruptor that, at first, just copied radio's playbook before completely rewriting it. The theater of the mind was about to become the theater of the living room.
$9. Seriously, that was the grand total for the first ever legal TV commercial. For just $9 on July 1st, 1941, Beluga watches aired a 10-second ad before a baseball game. All it was a clock face with a simple voiceover saying, "America runs on Beluga time." That's it.
So at first, TV advertising looked an awful lot like radio, just with pictures. The business model was identical. You had these single sponsors, like Westinghouse or Kraft, controlling the entire programs, from the content to the commercials. The big difference, of course, was that now they could actually show you the product, and that led to this whole era of live on-air demonstrations.
But broadcasting live, without the safety net of videotape, well, that came with a very unique set of challenges and some pretty memorable mistakes. Every commercial was like a tightrope walk without a net.
These on-air mistakes became legendary. I mean, can you imagine a pitchman trying to open a state-of-the-art Westinghouse refrigerator only for the door to be stuck shut? Or a spokesperson for a cigarette brand who starts coughing uncontrollably right on live TV? These high-stakes blunders really highlighted the risks of live TV and pushed the entire industry towards a more controlled, pre-filmed format.
Okay, so by the early 1960s, that old model of a single company like Kraft sponsoring an entire show was starting to fall apart. And this was a massive power shift in media. The big question is, what caused it?
Well, it was really a perfect storm. TV was just getting way too expensive for one sponsor to pay for the whole show. And at the same time, the networks wanted to control their own programming. On top of that, advertisers figured out they could reach more people by scattering their ads across a bunch of different shows. This huge power shift gave birth to the commercial break and the 60 and 30-second ad that we all know today.
So, with shorter ad slots in a much more crowded landscape, commercials couldn't just demonstrate products anymore. They had to fight for your attention. They had to get creative. This quote from the Business History Review really captures the spirit of this creative revolution. The hard sell, the buy now approach, was out. Emotion, wit, and storytelling were in. Ads suddenly needed to be just as entertaining as the shows they were interrupting. This is when we start to get ads that feel less like a sales pitch and more like a mini-movie. Think of those classic campaigns like Coca-Cola's Hilltop ad. These weren't just commercials, they were cultural moments that created a real emotional connection, and they shaped how we saw brands, and maybe even ourselves.
And this kind of brings us full circle. As our attention spans got shorter and shorter,
The long, sing-songy radio jingle had to evolve. Its modern descendant is the Sonic logo, a super short audio brand that does the exact same job, but in just a couple of seconds.
I mean, you go from that full song for Wheaties cereal all the way down to the iconic 5-note bong from Intel or that simple ba-da-ba-ba-ba from McDonald's. We all know that one, right? The goal is exactly the same. Even the 2-note ta-dum you hear before Netflix shows you how advertisers are still trying to create an unforgettable sound for their brand that cuts through all the noise. So, from a simple song that saved a cereal brand to a 2-note sound you probably hear every single day, this story of commercials has always mirrored our technology and our attention spans. It really leaves us with a big question for today. In this age of streaming and ad skipping and our attention being pulled in a million directions, what's the next creative revolution in advertising going to look like?